There we go. Okay. First, I'm going to start off with the famous quote by William Shakespeare, and it's called, "One touch of nature makes the whole world kin." So did any of you find unusual ways to pass the time as a kid? If you have, then you'll be able to relate to my story. Today I will explain to you how as kids, my siblings and I used everything available where we lived to pass the time. During my childhood, we grew up in the country, far, far from town. A majority of my cousins and other family relatives lived within walking distance. A benefit of growing up in the country is that there's no limit what you can get into as a kid. Our parents would always worry about the dangers or what could happen to us during our many adventures while we were outside. One day it was just me, my brother, and his friend. On this day we did the usual playing outside until my brother and his friend came up with an idea. They had decided that we needed something new, exciting, and dangerous to play with. They started talking about gathering up a 5-gallon bucket of water and a shovel. I knew then that this was not going to be a good idea. Excuse me. You see, growing up in the country was fun, but it also meant lots of scary critters too. At the time, we had non-poisonous tarantulas that would roam everywhere. We'd mostly find them in the yard, but sometimes we'd find them on the deck and even in the house. Unfortunately, my sister was one of the victims that had them in her room quite frequently. But they could not kill you, but if they were to bite you, they could make you very sick. And this is a picture of some of the tarantulas that you can see in Texas. Of course, they're usually kind of brown, but they were about this size. They were usually pretty good size. Now, there were many holes in the ground by the major highway that ran by our house, and they were usually probably about that big. And you wouldn't see them unless you'd walk up on them, but they were about that big, and that was their home. My brother and his friend's grand idea was to take the water and to pour it down the hole to make the spiders come up to the top. Then we had to reach and grab their legs and fling them out of the hole. And we would pray that they would usually come up tail first, but sometimes they would come up head first. Now, that's when the shovel came in handy, because then we would take the shovel and scoop them up and put them in the other bucket that we had, the empty one. They were not very happy about being thrown out of their home, so when we would approach them with the shovel, they'd rear up on their back legs so they could show their fangs. After we were done, I would say that we had gathered probably about 15 to 20 of those tarantulas. And my brother's friend lived across the street, and they had an idea to take an old horse trough, metal horse trough, and to pile them all inside there, and the plan was to watch them fight until the death. Yeah. So it just goes to show that growing up in the country, you can come up with all kinds of ideas to have fun. What's really ironic is now as an adult, my brother has serious arachnophobia, and he will literally hurt himself to get away from one. That day I learned that I might be better off playing alone if my brother had come up with any more crazy ideas.